Everyone had a dream in life. Something they were supposed to do. A God-given talent to turn the world upside down. A dream. A purpose. But 95% of the world's population will never live out that dream. They will settle, and they will lay on the roadside of 9 to 5 and fade into obscurity, never living out their dreams. This is not going to be your life.
The fact is, there is a way to become different. There is a way to become unstoppable. You just have to be willing to say, today is my day. I'm going to do it. And accomplish your goals. Some people have been dying to lose weight their entire life, and they can't understand why that's not happening. There's some people who can't stand to live another day sitting in a cubicle, making somebody else's dreams come true.
The question is, are you going to master your destiny? Are you going to live out the life that you were intended to live? Are you going to go another day thinking, tomorrow I'll start my dreams. Tomorrow will be the day I'll get started. And tomorrow comes, and tomorrow goes. And before you know it, a year goes by. And you're sitting in an old folks' home, and you're wondering, what happened to my life?
And you can break free from that, become unstoppable, and live out your dreams. Myself, there's a pretty good reason why that childlike consciousness asked that. Because most of the time, there was no reason why we were learning it anymore. We were just learning it because. And for me, because was never a good enough reason, so I would daydream. That childlike daydreaming that, inventors would have. And that was always shunned in school. They wanted you to sit still, learn, and regurgitate information. And that didn't work well for me. It wasn't until I got older that I learned what that particular system wanted, and I learned to master regurgitating their information. And then I got good grades, and I got applauded for things I did, but I wasn't learning it because it was benefiting me. I was learning it because it advanced me in certain systems. And that's about what 99% of the world does, is regurgitates information, gets grades, passes on, and they march along in the system of life. So, but they don't actually live out their own particular dreams. I know I wasn't. They get jobs somewhere and they march to the tune of the system, and they live unfulfilled lives. They end up in an old folks' home and then in a graveyard.
Who told you you couldn't do it? It's time to scream back, yes, I can.
And they never did anything they wanted to do in life or anything as becoming great humanitarian. And so, the story of my life goes, I went down that same pattern that most everybody goes down. And it wasn't until my father died that I began to wake up to, to life and what's going on.
So here's the question. Are you going to wait till you are about to die before you decide to live?
And that was a series of events when that started happening. From that point on, I started really questioning business and why people did things. I started questioning why we learn things, why great people do what they do and become great, and why most everyone else marches along to the tune of the world and fades off into obscurity.
Who are you going to be? What are you going to do with the rest of your life? Because when it's over, it's over.
And how come these people don't live out their dreams? Why aren't they doing what other great people did? And I learned there was actually a reason for that. That was an oddity in itself. How come so many people now get involved in relationships that are supposed to be permanent and they don't work out? And that's happening to more and more and more people nowadays. And it seems like, the entire world, the world system is trying to keep people from staying in relationships even though they want to.
There is something wrong, and you have to be willing to be the cure.
So I found that to be an oddity as well, and I wanted to do something about that. I remember when I was a kid, I'd go to church and I would hear the pastors talk, and I remember reading the Bible and studying and learning stuff about how, God intended for us to live a great life. Jesus would say words like that he had come to set the captives free. And so I wondered why both, Christian and non-Christian alike were still having such struggles in life, trying to live this, I guess, free life, free from divorce, free from sickness, free from all these struggles. And it was difficult for me because my brain just did not think like other people's brains thought. It was always this battle, this struggle between people about, how things really worked in life, I tended to end up being, I ended up being somewhat of a conspiracy theorist.
It's those very difficulties in life that God has given you to be unique and overcome the world.
A lot of people who were caught in, I guess what you would say, a mindless cycle of sports and news and music and things, they didn't want to hear it. They would actually get bent out of shape at me for trying to point out that there may be a different way, because every great person that's ever lived, from Einstein to Mozart, they went against the grain. They actually stepped outside of the typical mold of, where the aristocrats or the...
If you always put limits on everything you do, physical or anything else, it will spread into your work and into your life. There are no limits, there are no plateaus, and you must not stay there. You must go beyond them. Bruce Lee.
Elitist system or some kind of religious doctrine was trying to hold the masses, and they went off and did things on their own and changed the world. And I started thinking, I look back at the way my brain thought and how many things I had done in my life. From excelling at sports. I did that by not marching to the tune that everybody else was doing. I became fascinated with martial arts, and even though the doctors told me that I had an incapacitated body from an accident, that I would never be able to do that, I ended up becoming a master at martial arts and owning my own school. I started businesses. I became a real estate investor. Pretty much anything that I decided I wanted to do, I would figure out a way, inspire myself, and go for it. There wasn't really anything that I looked at as an obstacle after a while. And you know, I continued on that path and started doing stuff that, you know, more stuff than the average person would do in 3 lifetimes. But that's not something I viewed myself as being great. That just was living out the potential that God has given us all to do. And but it seems like society, and when I say society, I don't mean people, because people love great things. They love to see other people doing wonderful works and art and, you know, all these sorts of things. It's an underlying force that is working its hardest to stop you from having your potential. It's a message that comes down from television. It's a message coming down from music. It's a message coming down from the education system. It's a message coming down from, you know, the medical society about your health and what you can actually, you know, how you're actually supposed to live within that paradigm. There's an underlying message. Maybe it's ageless. It's been around since the beginning of time. It seems to be run by something spiritual. And from that spiritual essence, there seems to be people who sell their soul to it, and from that want to control all of society to march in a type of enslavement so that they remain at the top and everyone else works in their little cubicles or goes to the farmland and, you know, tills the land for the kings and the queens and never steps outside to their true potential in life. And for some reason, that just drove me crazy, that people weren't allowed to live out their true potential. That through fear and restriction and pain and being told they'll never amount to much, or this is all they can do in life. So many people never live out their dreams. They never become great musicians. They never find cures for diseases. They're never allowed to do great things in life and even be happy because of this system that exists, I guess, that tells them they can't. It drove me so crazy that I ended up dedicating several years of my life to seeking out what the great people of the world had done. You know, the systems they'd used, the thought processes, and how they had overcome those challenges. And so I ended up creating a course and an entire system to help people become like those great people in life, to actually become an unstoppable person. So that's why I called this whole system Mission Unstoppable.